Ooh, I should start my recording. Aquí vamos. Here we go. Okay, I need to pull up my other item. This is super short. Es muy corto, but it illustrates what we actually do in English all the time. And one reason I started looking up or just checking out a lot of the videos that I normally get about, why is X, Y, or Z difficult? And things that can be done to help with that, or things to keep in mind, or, lo que sea, whatever it may be. So this one is even under a minute. I'm surprised she doesn't put it on TikTok, but she's not on TikTok, I think. But she'll actually have an audio demonstration of why listening is difficult. And you'll notice her, oh, you won't notice because I haven't got share screen on yet. Okay, aquí viene, here it comes. Speed is not the problem. Well, speed sometimes is the problem, but speed is not all of the problem, okay? So this is something that actually we've talked about before, but it is very, very true. And she's going to talk about why it is hard to hear things. It is because of how people link words together.
Rápido o despacio realmente no es el problema. Lo más importante para aprender a entender y a hablar de forma natural el español es aprender a conectar las palabras. Por ejemplo, ¿qué estás haciendo? ¿Qué estás haciendo? ¿Cómo?
¿Qué estás haciendo? And nobody stops between those three words. Nobody's ever gonna do that. Look at what we do in English. Nobody's ever gonna do that. We will say that, but ¿cómo has estado?
¿Cómo has estado? ¿Cómo has estado?
And that's how you really hear it. ¿Cómo has estado? Because of how fast it goes through. So she phonetically puts through how it really kind of sounds if somebody is speaking quickly.
¿De dónde eres? ¿De dónde eres?
¿De dónde eres? And, look at this moves right into this, and that moves right into that sound because they're the same vowel sound. ¿De dónde eres? That's the way you'll really hear it.
También es importante conocer las variaciones de sonidos que tienen algunas letras, como la D o la B.
And those three letters are problematic for those of us listening with English ears because the D, the B, and the V are not voiced in Spanish. They are not explosive letters as they are in English. So whereas we tend to put a lot of force into our D's and B's and V's quite often, not all the time, but a lot, they're going to be so soft that you really have to listen hard for them in Spanish because they're much, much, much softer.
Cuando están entre dos vocales,
when they're between two vowels, that's when they really get soft.
Suavizan tanto que a veces no las escuchamos. Todo, nada, avión, abuelo. Estoy cansada, estamos dibujando. Las palabras pueden estar conectadas por vocal-vocal, consonante-consonante o consonante-vocal.
Okay, so actually, going back to that, just
hablar
a little
rápido.
bit, I'm going to go back to that D, B. This word here, todo, nada, especially if you're anywhere in the Caribbean, folks. Wow, if you're in the Caribbean, or if you're in the south of Spain, there's an expression, se comen las des. Yeah, a lot of these get eaten, is what the term is for that. Meaning that it's so soft, you really almost don't hear the D, nada. And it's brief, and it's just a flip of the tongue, and that's it. And if you're anywhere in el Caribe, in Puerto Rico, Cuba, anywhere in that area, or northern northern shore there on Sudamerica, you know, a lot of those get softened quite a lot. So that'll fly by. It'll feel like it's flying by. So es difícil. That is one thing that makes it hard. It makes it important for us to listen. And the fact is, a lot of us, 75% of us, are not auditory learners. 75% of the population does not learn well just hearing something, which is why the old-fashioned CDs that people would feed into their car to play and listen to. A lot of people struggle with that because most human beings, just the way we're wired, we don't learn as well with, you know, just listening. But sadly, when we talk to people, that is the only thing we've got to go on, right? Is hearing. Because when you're speaking to somebody, you don't say, please write that down, you know, unless it's an address or a phone number that you're not going to remember. You just don't do that. So that is a problem. I have found some new listening devices, and this is going to be done as, oh, no, actually, el secreto. Eso no es. Yeah, okay, we are going to move on to this one. There is someone who does a lot of Spanish, and being as young as she is, I'm surprised she does this, but she does a lot of storytelling, and she does things at a slower pace that's easier to pick up. I'm showing this particular one for a reason, because she's going to use one word you're going to pick up in your reading later on, and for over the homework. There's a specific word she uses, and she chooses to teach with storytelling and teach vocabulary in a very concrete, very visual way. Okay, so she will be speaking much slower than you heard in that first little 1-minute clip, but she's going to tell some information. Some of the words are words that are kind of in the theme of what we had with destinos a little bit. So we'll see if you can pick up on some of that. And we're going to do a little bit of listening comprehension. We'll see how much of this you can pick up. Probably a great deal of it, I imagine. Me imagino.
Odio cuando se me caen las piezas del puzzle al suelo.
And I'm surprised you call this puzzle, but it must be a thing in Spain. I have never heard that word used. I've always heard rompecabezas, but more like not for jigsaw. So this must be the thing for jigsaw, just taking puzzle, like, you know, Spanishizing the word puzzle.
Efectivamente. ¿Has visto? Bien. Hoy vamos a hacer un puzzle. Es un puzzle muy fácil y yo lo hacía cuando era pequeña. Esto de aquí.
Cuando era pequeña. So listen for that. Cuando era pequeña, when I was young, when I was little. Cuando era pequeña. So watch, because she's going to do a lot of visual
las piezas.
things.
Las piezas del puzzle. Y
Piezas, piezas, pieces, piezas.
yo siempre empiezo por las piezas que tienen un lado plano.
Un lado plano. So plano means two things. Plano es esto, plano, bien, plano. Por ejemplo, la superficie aquí es plano, bien, pero no es plano, no es plano. But there is another meaning for plano, and she shows you what she means. Otro significado de plano. A plano is also a map. especially a walking map that you might get that just has like, you know, say a 5-mile circumference around the hotel that you're in. So plano is another word for map too.
Plano.
Plano.
Las que son el borde del puzzle. Vale, a ver. Camión de bomberos. El camión de bomberos es este, todo esto.
And in destinos, we have many professions. You're going to hear some more professions and words of people about town.
Esta es la panadería. Bueno, no es una panadería, es una cafetería. Es un trocito, es una cabeza
Trocito, a little
dentro
piece.
de una cafetería. Esto es de esa cafetería. Esta es la cafetería. ¿Veis? Aquí falta la cara del señor.
So when she says falta la cara, it's lacking the face. This little piece, falta, it's lacking. It's missing. It's missing the face. Falta la cara.
Ahora ya tiene cara. ¡Chachán! Y aquí está el tío vivo. Hay un barquito.
Tío vivo es merry-go-round. Live uncle.
Yeah.
Tío vivo, ¿por qué? No sé. Ni idea. I don't know how it got that name.
Un elefante y un camión de bomberos de mentira. Y estos son de verdad.
Ah, de verdad, real? De mentira, literally lying. A lie, meaning they're not real. Okay, de mentira. Fake, fake.
Y aquí está la boda.
La
Con
boda.
el novio y la novia. La boda. Necesito a esta señora. Aquí hay una señora con un bolso. Siempre me acuerdo de esa señora. ¿Veis? Esta es la cara de la señora. La cara. Mirad cómo va tomando forma esto. ¿Veis? Aquí tenemos a el señor y la señora en la cafetería y el dueño.
El dueño, the owner. Someone who owns something, el dueño.
El cocinero. Y aquí hay un motorista.
Motorista. So I want you to notice some words that we have that tell you about a job or something that designates what that person is doing. Motorista, cocinero, cocinero, ero tells you a job. Cocinero, somebody who cooks, right?
Los camiones de bomberos. Y aquí está el coche de bomberos. Y aquí está el tío vivo. Y aquí me falta el cuerpo de la señora. ¿Veis? Falta el cuerpo.
El cuerpo. Falta el cuerpo.
Por cierto, los bomberos, ¿para qué sirven? ¿Qué hacen los bomberos?
Another job word, bomberos.
Dejadlo en un comentario. ¿Qué hacen los bomberos? ¿Cuál es su trabajo? Los bomberos en este puzzle no están porque sí, porque quedan bonitos. No. Están porque tienen trabajo. ¿Y por qué tienen trabajo? Porque hay un fuego, hay un incendio en una casa. Mirad, el cuerpo de la señora, por fin.
Por fin, finally.
¿Habéis visto eso? Muy satisfactorio. ¿Veis? Ya está completa. Lleva unos tacones, un abrigo muy grande y un bolso. Y esto parece, no sé, cebolleta, un puerro.
Vegetales.
puerro. A mí esta ciudad me parece muy bonita y tiene un aire que me recuerda,
Me recuerda, it reminds me. Me recuerda, it reminds me.
a una ciudad europea. Eso y que la marca de puzzles se llama Ravensburger. 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 El puzzle me recuerda a brujas.
Brujas is a name for a place in Belgium, or it means this, brujas, witches.
Por las calles del casco histórico, del centro de la ciudad, las calles, la carretera es de piedrecitas, ¿cómo se llama? Mamá, ¿cómo se llama el suelo de piedras de los centros de las ciudades?
¿Adoquines?
Adoquines, eso es.
Adoquines, cobblestones. Y ella no sabía el nombre de ¿cómo se llaman? Las piedras, the stones, ¿sí? En la calle, adoquines, eso es.
Hoy no sé español. El suelo de las calles está hecho de piedras, de adoquines. Y cuando pasan los carruajes con caballos, suena. Y eso es por los adoquines de piedra. Suena, sonar. Una buena palabra.
Sonar,
Para que
it
te la
sounds
aprendas.
like.
Sonar es un verbo. También puedes decir, esto me suena. Esto es algo que te es familiar.
Yeah, esto me suena, it sounds to me like. Sounds to me like, yeah, it's familiar to me.
Me suena tu cara. El incendio. Perfecto. Es un incendio que se ha encendido a lo lejos, en una casa en el campo, muy lejos de la ciudad, muy lejos, y está en llamas. Como Katniss Everdeen, libro número 2.
En llamas, in flames. Llamas are flames, en llamas.
Y aquí están viniendo todos los bomberos. Están saliendo fuera de la ciudad, de las calles de adoquines, para ir a apagar el incendio. Las únicas piezas.
Apagar is put out or turn off. So we use apagar for turning off an electronic device. We use apagar for putting out an actual flame. Apagar. Apagar.
Tengo son todo verde del campo y tejados. ¿Veis? Son
Tejados,
todo
roofs, tile roofs.
Tejado, 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 tejado y verde. El campo. Es la parte de arriba. Bueno, estoy ya casi terminando, al menos con los tejados. En este tejado hay un gatito. Bueno, mirad cómo voy. Voy muy avanzada. ¿Habéis visto? Aquí está la catedral. Bueno, que esto ya está. Señores y señoras, esto ya está. La última pieza. Vamos a ponerla juntos. ¿Preparados? ¡Tadán! Tenemos a los camiones de bomberos y el coche de bomberos, porque esto no es un camión, es un coche. Tenemos a la gente señalando a...
Señalando es pointing. Señalar means to point at something. Señal is a sign. Señalar is to point something out, to indicate it with your finger. To signal something, literally. Okay.
Los camiones de bomberos. Y los camiones de bomberos están yendo a apagar el fuego en las afueras de la ciudad. Aquí hay un tío vivo y un kiosco. Hay un señor comprando un periódico, un semáforo en rojo y un semáforo en verde, un policía y nuestra cafetería. Aquí esto es una juguetería, ¿veis? Hay
Toy store.
juguetes.
Juguetería,
Una
you had some of that
juguetería.
last week.
Esto creo que es una charcutería.
Charcutería
Esto
es
es-
más como like a deli, okay? Carnicería is a butcher shop, but charcutería, which they have that French term that we sometimes use in English, which is almost the exact same thing, and it's like deli slices.
Carne. Y esto es una zapatería. Hay zapatos. Y esto de aquí, de color azul, es un toldo. Y aquí está la catedral con unos pájaros. Hay muchos pájaros. Aquí hay más pájaros. Aquí hay un niño en bicicleta, una madre con el carrito de bebé. Y aquí, por desgracia, faltan piezas. Pero esto es todo. Esto es el puzzle. ¿A qué es bonito? ¿Habéis aprendido alguna palabra de vocabulario nueva?
Ok, bien, claro que sí, claro que sí. Bueno, entonces, ella habla de manera muy fácil de entender, ¿no? She speaks in a nice, slow way that is easy to pick up, and she does lots of visualizations. You'll see some next week that point out some other things that are really, really helpful. Son útiles. ¿Ok? Bien. Bueno, lo que vamos a hacer, la próxima cosa, the next thing we're going to work on is we are going to do some small group work with our little prompts on subjuntivos. So I'm going to share that so that you see what it looks like. So you can, tengo que engrandecer todo. I need to make this bigger. Of course, you will not have this to go out into your groups, but hopefully you printed this out. If there's somebody who does not have it printed out, please show me a hand that you need. Oh, sí, okay. Vale. So here's what I want you to print out. Y un momentito. I need to put this así total. ¿Cuántos hay? We'll work in group, but we'll do a 3, a 3, a 3, a 3, and a 4. 3, 3, y 4. 3, 3, y 4. And that way you will not have to furiously copy. So the ones we're going to work on in smaller groups first are going to be these things that are called subjunctive, which means they're going to look like commands. Okay. And I want to see that you can do something a little bit with what we call subjunctive, just a little bit, un poquito. We're using subjunctive in a very limited setting. And I will send out that language tutor video that Juanita had seen as well, because I think you found that helpful, although I think it's long, rather long. The problem with subjunctive is this. It is a vast, scary, and big topic. And even people who speak Spanish recognize, because everybody tells them how awful it is. It's awful. We don't understand how you people learn to do this, and for them it's a very natural thing, but they understand how scary for English speakers. But basically, you're going to be using what sounds like a command to finish up a sentence. So we'll take a look at this designation here first. I want you to finish these ideas, and we'll do the first three in a small group. Finish the ideas with an idea using subjunctive, okay? And the forms are like negative tu commands or like usted commands. We form them the exact same way. That means you start with yo, you drop the o, and you use the opposite ending. So AR verbs get a endings. ER and IR verbs get a endings, which sound like they are wrong, but they are correct for subjunctive. And the reason we're using subjunctive, the reason we need to use this kind of verb form is because the idea you're going to create indicates an action that really isn't happening yet. It is not a part of reality. That's what subjunctive is. And I will tell you that I myself, in learning this, I'm going to say for it to feel really, really natural, like that sounds right, probably took me a year as a kid. It probably took me about a year. And it took me longer for past subjunctive. That took another year because that's harder than this subjunctive. This is present subjunctive. There's other kind of subjunctive too. Okay, but they'll wind up sounding something like this. We've got los médicos piden, and I'll underline this. No, because my things disappeared, so I will not underline it, but you can see it. Está en azul, en azul. Los médicos piden que la pública tome la vacuna. Doctors ask the public to get the shot. Take the shot, literally, but get the shot. And you would think la pública toma, you would think it should be toma, but it's los médicos piden. Doctors ask. They don't ask to get an extra shipment themselves. They don't ask, they're asking somebody else. They're asking public, John Q. Public. So when one person asks somebody else to do something, that other action isn't really happening yet, and we don't know if it will happen. So that's why it will go into what sounds like the funny form of subjuntivo. So it'll sound like los médicos piden que la pública tome la vacuna. Certain verbs will require subjunctive, and the subjunctive is always going to happen after that little word que. The que is like the connector word. It's the connector word. Notice, really, you've got two, not with all subjunctive, but with many subjunctive ideas. You really wind up having two separate sentences, two separate actions, two entirely separate, disconnected actions. So the first sentence really is, los médicos piden. They ask for something, right? And the second half of it is, la pública tome la vacuna. That's the second half. Taking the shot is not the same asking action as asking for. So you have one separate person or group of people, los médicos, asking somebody else, la pública, to do something. And whenever that happens, we need that second action to be in subjunctive, and que is going to be the little connector word that joins those two separate sentences. ¿Entienden? ¿Sí? ¿Vale? Okay. Certain kinds of verbs like pedir may require that. So what our objective is to learn certain limited kinds of verbs that will require subjunctive in the second half. Very limited number, but we'll see if you can find a relationship between some of them. Quiero que mi vecino, I want my neighbor to do something. I want my neighbor to do something. So you're going to invent some things that you want your neighbor to do. Espero que tú, I hope that you do something. And mi familia quiere que yo, my family wants me to do something. Okay. These all have kind of a common thread of we have verbs of wanting or wishing or hoping for something to happen. And you want or wish or hope somebody else to do something. ¿Entienden? But my wanting or wishing or hoping for somebody else to do that doesn't mean it's happening right now. It isn't happening right now yet. It may happen, may not happen. We don't know yet at the time that we state that. So we're going to set you off to Zoom rooms. A menos que haya una pregunta, unless there's some kind of a question about what you're going to do with these first three. We just want to solicit some general ideas of what you might say in these situations. How often in the day do we say, I want him to do X, Y, or Z, right? I want the town council to veto this idea, right? Me wanting it, but somebody else is doing that action. Well, maybe they are, maybe they're not. So that's why it's an indefinite kind of thing. Okay, a ver, I think I'm going to send you out into 3 different rooms. I'm just going to give you 5 to 7 minutes to work up some examples of what we might use for these 3. Then we'll come back, see how easy or difficult it was, what kind of questions you have. A ver, and remember to hit your join button. I need to run my stopwatch. Ah, muy bien. ¿Cómo les va? How's it going for you? ¿Difícil, fácil o por el medio?
It's
We made it through one.
Okay.
yeah, and
all right.
I'm not sure if mine is right.
Well, that's what we're here to do. We're going to see if
Yeah.
you got some of these right.
Mhm.
Let's take some examples that you guys had for número uno. Quiero que mi vecino.
I had no tenga. Boy, I'll bet you this is really screwed up. Quiero que mi vecino no tenga los perros que ruidoso.
Ah, entiendo. Voy a escribir, momentito. I'm going to write them so you can see me transcribing this. Okay. Por ejemplo, quiero que mi vecino no tenga los perros ruidosos. I don't want my neighbor to have noisy dogs.
Okay, so that's an adjective.
Ruidosos just means loud, not noisy.
Yeah.
They make a lot of yak, 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 yak. Okay.
Okay.
Ruidosos, noisy.
So
Sí.
K is absolutely not right to put in front of ruidoso.
No, the que sits right there.
And you
Okay.
can, but aren't there cases where you need two Ks? One relates to the subjunctive and the other one might not?
Possibly. I'll give you an example, albeit a kind of convoluted example. Quiero que mi vecino que vive a la izquierda. I want that my neighbor that lives off on the left
Okay.
no tenga. Maybe. Que is a word that can mean lots of different things in Spanish.
Right.
Que can be in a question, what? Here, this que has no accent mark, so it doesn't mean what. But it does mean loosely that. I want that my neighbor should not have loud dogs. Okay.
Okay.
Literally, that's how that rolls. We would never say it in English as I want that my neighbor should. Because we don't say it that way. We say, I want my neighbor not to have, not to have. We use an infinitive. We don't even conjugate that verb. But in other examples of subjunctive, English might insert the word might, possibly inserts the word may. Mainly, English does all different stuff. So in other words, there is no comparison you'll have in English that is consistent, that follows the same steps. It doesn't happen. It depends on the turn of phrase, what English does. English does like 4 or 5 different things. But there's no pattern in English. There's a pattern for Spanish. So this is one, es una posibilidad. Quiero que mi vecino no tenga los perros ruidosos. Bien, otra idea, another idea.
Quiero que mi vecino esté seguro durante la pandemia.
Bien. Me gusta mucho, sí. Quiero que mi vecino esté seguro, stay safe, bien, durante la pandemia, ¿sí? So we just put a different idea in there. Otra idea.
And there would be an accent on the E, the last E,
Sí.
because sometimes there isn't accents.
Because, right, this word
It's-
without an accent is no longer este, it is este.
Este, like this.
Este means this. este lápiz, este ratón. Sí, por ejemplo, este marcador, este reloj. Bien, okay. And now we don't want it to mean this thing. We want it to mean be. Oh, and we would say, I want my neighbor to stay safe. To stay safe, to, yeah, okay. We don't do the same thing. Otra idea, another idea.
I
I have
no,
a question about Fred's first one,
Sí, sí.
because you led off with a discussion saying that negative subjunctive was really difficult. Does the negativity with the subjunctive come with the first part in front of there? But that seems.
No. Well, I could have a no quiero up there. I could put a no in front of the quiero and still make that subjunctive. I can make this subjunctive a no tenga, and that's fine.
That's okay.
This one's not negative, and that's also fine. The thing that triggers says, whoa, flashing red light, here's going to come subjunctive, is quiero que mi vecino. Because I have verb one human being with a wish, the word que, and verb two, phrase two, a different human being. Look, yo in the first half, mi vecino in the second half. They're not the same person. Oh,
The
not
question-
100% of the time, but in most subjunctive, in most, you have two separate human beings, two separate actions.
The question came up in our group as to whether you could have the subjunctive for like an organization or a store. That qualifies.
Ok, por ejemplo, quiero que Sprouts abra más temprano. Oh, Sprouté, no, Sprouts.
It's the
I
French
want-
sprouts.
I want Sprouts to open earlier. I want them to open earlier. I can want that from now till kingdom come. Is that going to happen? I don't know. I want them to do it. Doesn't mean it's going to happen. But yo is the person who wants something. But now I'm talking about an organization, a store. And yeah, I just put that verb into subjunctive. Absolutely. Absolutamente. Sí se puede. Yes, you can. Because sometimes an organization or a store or a group of people might be this, something that, you want them to do something. Absolutamente. Correcto. Otras ideas aquí. Any other ideas here from my neighbor?
sure. Quiero que mi vecino elimine las palomas.
Elimine, gets rid of, ¿sí?
Elimine las palomas, sí.
Elimine, que elimine, or elimine, we could say quite,
Mate,
take out, mate, saque, take out, yank out, saque, quitar, take away, las palmas, Keith. Las palmas.
palomas.
Oh, palomas. Perdón, palomas. Sí. Ay, todas las mañanas a las 5 de la mañana, ¿no? A las 5:30 de la mañana. Entiendo bien.
Sí.
Sí. Mate, es severo. Ok.
Pero mate las palomas.
Oh,
Ok. En mi barrio, por ejemplo, quiero que mi vecino no haga tanto ruido con sus carros, porque siempre prueba los carros. He tests out cars. Siempre prueba los sistemas de sonido de los carros. He tests out sound systems on automobiles. Quiero que mi vecino no haga tanto ruido. I want my neighbor not to make so much noise. Bien, bien, bien. I want it. Doesn't mean it's going to happen because, right? Okay. Otras ideas. Any other ideas for this one?
I had no saque la basura un día antes.
Que no saque la basura el día anterior, the day
Okay.
prior. ¿Sí? Eso es. No quiero que el vecino, quiero que el vecino me invite a su fiesta. I want him to invite me to his.
Party.
Quiero, quizás, maybe, quiero que mi vecino no dé fiestas. I don't want him to give. I don't want him to throw parties. Quizás. Depende, ¿verdad? Ok. Otra idea aquí. Espero que tú. I hope that you. I hope I'm person number 1 and you are person number 2. We're connecting this wish, this desire with the little word que. So now I need this second verb, which is going to be talking about tú specifically, to go into a subjunctive form. Espero que tú ideas.
I said compres ese vestido para la fiesta.
Ese vestido para la fiesta.
Ese.
Espero que tú compres ese vestido. I hope you buy that dress. Espero que tú compres ese vestido para la fiesta. Bien, magnífico. Espero que.
Vengas a cenar mañana.
Espero que. Perdón. Que vengas a cenar mañana. Sí, claro, magnífico, perfecto. Espero que vengas a cenar mañana. Perfecto. ¿Qué más?
Espero que tú hables conmigo.
Espero que tú hables conmigo. Me gusta mucho, sí. I hope you speak with me. Exacto. Espero, esto muy común. Espero que estés mejor. I hope you are better.
Well,
en una tarjeta, on a card. Que te mejores. I hope you get better. Either one of those can be used. I hope you get better. Cuando una persona está enferma, ¿no? O enfermo. Estés mejor, te mejores, son iguales. ¿Ok? Otras ideas. Espero que tú.
Tenga día es hermoso.
Que otra vez. Que I could not hear your verb. Perdón.
I don't know what that is.
I'm getting a nice little.
What is that?
No sé.
Woodpecker.
It's the palomas.
Palomas, sí.
It's the termites.
I said tenga dia es hermosas, but I don't know what the but. I don't think.
Tenga un día hermoso.
Sí.
Oh, I have.
Bien. Espero que tenga, but it'll be tengas, right? Tengas because it's tú. Tengas.
Sí.
Espero que tengas un día hermoso. I hope you have a beautiful day. I hope you have a beautiful day. Exacto. Espero que tengas un día hermoso. Excelente. Otra idea. This is a wish this is something that we say very naturally when you see people even at the store, right? Okay. Mi familia quiere que yo. My family wants me to do something. And the yo form will be just like the usted or él or ella form. It'll be just like that because yo and él y a usted, first person singular, yo, and él y a usted, third person singular, they use the same kind of verb for subjunctive. Okay. Entonces, una idea. Mi familia quiere que yo.
Venga a visitar más a menudo.
Venga a visitar más a menudo. Come visit more often. Bien, perfecto. ¿Qué más?
Yo creo un Zoom call cada mes.
Que yo
Would it be
cree? It'll be cree, the opposite vowel, because crear is create, right?
okay?
But you know what? I'm going to give you a verb that's going to be a little more natural for talking about making a call. Making a call. Instead of creating, let's go with this idea. Haga una llamada de Zoom. Cada semana, todas las semanas, así. Haga una llamada. Haga una llamada would be make a call.
Okay.
Haga una llamada de Zoom. Perfecto. Buena idea. ¿Qué más? ¿Otras ideas? ¿Sí o no? Mi familia, quiero que yo prepare galletas frescas. Mi familia quiere que yo prepare galletas frescas. I make some fresh cookies, right? I could say hornear, right? Horné, but you might not recognize hornear. Hornear is bake. But I can say prepare, prepare. I could even say haga, make. Todo está bien, ¿ok? Vale. ¿Más ideas aquí o no?
Mi familia quiere que yo no trabaja tanto.
Que yo no trabaje tanto. That I don't work so much. Mi familia quiere que yo les dé más dinero. They want me to give them more money. Okay. Pero entienden, ¿no? Entienden. You get the idea. Is this feeling a little bit better? Un poquito mejor? Un poquito? Wanting and wishing, wanting and wishing. And you know what? I want you to think about the idea behind this. Wanting and wishing and asking you to do something and telling you, go do that. All that stuff indicates a second action by somebody else. Okay, so we're going to take a look, send you off to work on these three. And one is asking, because I've got the verb pedir, but I'm not asking for the bill. I'm not asking what's your phone number. I'm not asking to, I'm not ordering a burger. I am saying pide que somebody. I ask that somebody does something. Mi esposo pide que yo, my husband asks me to, or mi esposa, if you know, you're in that situation, mi esposa pide que yo, my wife asks me to. One person asks, they desire something, they want somebody else to do something, and we are talking about what that other person is being asked to do, right? La próxima idea, the next idea. Les digo a mis hijos, I tell my kids. Mil veces, I tell them 1,000 times. I tell them to do what? 1,000 times. And we've all lived through this. Most of us have at least. I've told you once, I've told you 1,000 times. And this mil veces is a real thing with Spanish culture, with las mamás, with moms. It's never 100 times, it's always 1,000 times, mil veces. It's always 1,000 times. Les digo, I tell my kids. Okay. Y ¿quieres que nosotros? Do you want us to do something? What do you want us to do? You want, but you want us to do something. So I want you to work on those three ideas. Tres ideas. Es un poquito más fácil, a little bit easier knowing what you're going to go out and do now. See?
Sí.
Un poquito mejor. It gets a little bit better every time. Okay, and join button. Ok, muy bien. Fantástico. ¿Fue un poquito más fácil? A little bit easier?
Sí.
¿Un poco?
Sí,
¿Un poco? Ok.
un poco.
Vale. Bueno. Vamos a comparar nuestras ideas o sus ideas. We're going to compare your ideas here. See what ideas you came up with. Mi esposo o mi esposa pide que yo una idea.
I said, maneje su carro el trabajo esta semana.
Que yo maneje su carro al trabajo
El trabajo.
esta semana. Sí, fantástico. Que yo maneje su carro. I drive his car. Excelente. Otra idea. Otra idea.
I had yo cociné sin sal.
Que cocine sin sal. Wants me
Ah,
to cook without salt. Eso sí. Ok. Magnífico. ¿Qué más?
I have traiga a casa algunos leche.
Que yo traiga leche a casa. Bring milk home.
Sí.
Traiga leche a casa.
Hombre,
Bring some milk home. See? And because milk is not something, it's in a carton. It's a great big mass of stuff. So we don't really have an identifier unless you had like, mucha leche, you could do that, but just some milk.
But if you, just gonna say, bring home some
Sí,
milk.
eso es, sí. Yo traiga leche a casa. Bueno, ¿qué más?
I have yo haga más tiempo.
Haga más tiempo, make more time para divertirnos, to have a good time, lo que sea, whatever it may be, para relajarnos, to relax. Eso es. Bueno.
If I wanted to say for her, what's my pronoun?
Para ella.
That's what I thought.
Para ella. Sí. Para ella. Para mí, para ti, but then para ella, para él, para ellos, para nosotros. The only pronoun that would switch out would be me and ti. Me and ti with after para. Bien. Ok. Otra idea.
Yo lavé el auto.
Muy común. Que yo lave el auto. Wash the car. A nadie le gusta lavar el auto. O quizás a alguien le gusta. Maybe somebody likes that. Para mí no es muy divertido. Ok, hay otras ideas aquí.
Vaci-
No. Continúa.
Vacié el lavaplatos.
Empty out, right? Sí.
Yeah.
Correcto. Vaciar es to empty. Vacíe el lavaplatos. Empty the dishwasher. Eso es. Muy bien. Bueno. A ver. Bueno, vamos a cambiar de tema y vamos a hablar de esto. Lo que digo a mis hijos. Les digo 1000 veces que
Cepille los dientes.
se cepille los dientes. Así es. Brush their teeth. Eso es, que ellos se cepillen, perdón.
a question?
Sí.
Okay. You answered it with the end.
Bien, sí. Que ellos
Limpien sus dormitorios.
Que limpien sus dormitorios o sus habitaciones o lo que sea, ¿sí? Vale, magnífico. ¿Qué más?
Deban estudiar.
Ah, llevar.
No, deban, D-E-B-A-N, deban. Like ought to, from deber.
Oh, deben.
Oh, deben.
Yeah,
Que deban. They should do what?
estudiar.
Oh, estudiar, perdón. Que deban estudiar. Sí, eso es. Muy bien. ¿Qué más? Que cierren la nevera. Que cierren la nevera. Close that refrigerator. Que lleguen a casa antes de las 11.
Ah,
¿Sí? A ver, bueno. Ok. ¿Quieres que nosotros? So you get some practice with the nosotros verb. ¿Quieres que nosotros?
Comprendamos el subjunctivo en
El sub-
español.
El subjuntivo en español.
You know, Marilyn, one thing I want to say that came really clear this last week is that I am not an auditory learner at all, not at all. And we are hit with a lot of subjunctive, but I don't pay attention to the ending. And when I'm listening to it, I don't pay attention to the ending. I try to get the infinitive to figure out what's going on. And if I'm reading and the ending isn't right in my head on the infinitive, then I don't know who they're talking about, but I try to figure it out.
Okay.
But I don't hear the ending.
So when you hear it, it does this.
Yeah.
And you kind of know the gist.
Oh, the
Yeah.
gist of the verb.
But what that actually, okay, es normal. This is kind of a normal thing, but it's something you should start to become aware of because it is something that people just really use all the time and it's almost impossible to avoid it. Because we talk about wanting other people to do stuff all the time in our daily lives. This is just something we always do. It probably hits you harder when you see it in print.
Yeah.
Okay. This is not that abnormal or even abnormal at all.
But like figuring this out, I had to do it like a math problem where I took the infinitive and then made it the yo form and then had to reverse the ending based on who we're talking about.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, I felt like it was, oh, show your work.
Okay.
You know?
And I know
doesn't
that
come to my
that
head.
process of using the subjunctive ending, which does not, es poco natural, it does not sound natural to you. After years of learning how to do a verb correctly, now
Yeah.
it sounds like it's wrong. That is a big hump to get over. So for me to give you all the rules is like, makes it feel like an extremely overwhelming thing. So that's why we're doing these in little dribs and drabs. They are little dribs and drabs because it makes it less intimidating to start to say, oh, you know, I could do this. I could talk about what I want you to do or what do you want us to do. ¿Quieres que nosotros, otra idea aquí con nosotros? Any other idea with the nosotros verb here?
salgamos a cenar.
Salgamos a cenar. Sí, sí, sí. Do you want us to go out to eat? Eso es, sí. Bueno, más ideas.
Vayamos. Oh, go ahead.
We're going to profesora. So how do we go? I got stuck up with ear. So how do I go and put and use? So quiero que voy, ven,
Oh, you want to,
vamos.
Ir.
A beer.
Dos.
Vamos, you want to know how to use ir, right?
Sí.
With this? Okay.
Yeah.
Ir is one of those dishes verbs. It is an oddball. Vayamos. Vayamos, that's what you need. ¿Quieres que vayamos? ¿Quieres que vayamos al cine? ¿Quieres que vayamos a clase? ¿Quieres que vayamos a casa? Lo que sea, whatever it may be. Ir becomes this funny thing that is vayamos. It's vaya. Okay. So the funny little verbs that will do something odd will be.
So that was like you said, the dishes. So that's under. So
Yeah.
the
So what's under
instead form
dishes?
is vaya, right?
Is.
Right. See,
If I so just
that becomes some form of de.
Yes.
Some form of de, right? De, des, den, demos, den. Okay. Ir becomes some
Voy,
form of
vaya, vayan. Okay, and then the instead form vayamos.
Mhm.
Okay.
vaya, vayas, vaya, vayamos, vayan.
Vayamos,
Um,
vayamos al beer.
Ser, okay. Ser becomes sea, some form of sea, seas, sea, seamos, sean. Bien? Dishes. Haber becomes this thing. Haber. The wonderful thing you know as I or había or hubo. That becomes none of those. It becomes haya. So, vaya, haya, vaya, haya. Okay. But
So that's
haya is
both.
only used by itself. Never as a nosotros, never as a tú, never as a yo. It's only vaya and it's nothing else. Okay.
Can you give us a
An
sense
example
what that
using haya? Sí puedo. ¿Quieres que haya más, más espacio aquí? ¿Quieres que haya más espacio aquí? You want to make some more space here? ¿Sí? ¿Quieres que haya menos personas en el cuarto? Do you want there to be fewer people in the room? Haya is always haya, and that's all it is. There
Thank
are
you.
some situations when we can combine haya with something else in a compound tense, but we're not talking about any of those. We're talking about haya meaning there is, there are, and that's it. And it's always that form haya. Okay, so it's never going to go into a conjugation for tú or nosotros or ellos. See, bien? So we've got dishes, we've got dar, we've got ir, we've got ser, we've got haber, we've got estar. Estar in that dishes irregular mode is esté, or a form of esté, estés, estemos, estén, así, like that. And then the last one is saber. And saber becomes this funny thing that is sepa. Ooh.
Are those the only irregulars?
Those are the only true irregulars because everything else can be formed from yo as a baseline. But those can't be formed from yo because in order to form it from yo, it has to end in an o to drop. And dar, ir, ser, haber doesn't even have a yo form, right? Estar and saber don't end in o. So I can't use that. I could take this example we had earlier. ¿Quieres que sepamos el subjuntivo en español? I could have substituted that. And I'd use sepamos. Here is a phrase that is often used with that sepa thing. People will start off an idea this way. Para que sepas, just so you know. That's what they're saying. Oh, just so you know, street light's not working. Just so you know, my phone's not working.
Like FYI.
Para que sepas, just so you know. Because you don't know yet. But just so you know, I'm going to tell you. And that's why it becomes that, para que sepas. It's a common thing for people to start off something they're going to tell you with. You know what? We're going to leave the last batch of this, and I'm going to add some on for next week. We're going to leave the last batch for next week because, oh my gosh, we didn't even get to our destinos. Perdón. I am so sorry. Lo siento mucho. I thought I was being really, really on time, but it's okay because you have lots of questions and we got to work through those questions. Lo que voy a hacer, what I'm going to do, lo que, what, that which, lo que voy a hacer, what I'm going to do is I'm going to send this back out at you with the ideas written in so that you see more examples. Okay, we're going to leave those examples in.
Good.
And we're going to leave these last 4 that we didn't get to. I'm going to add on probably about 4 more. I'm going to add on very limited ideas. And you'll notice I've already got some limited new ideas, like you insist that somebody does something. Or, well, we had a hope, so that was the same. Recommending. Anytime you recommend or suggest. And we have this magical little word we're going to add in one example for next week to ponder. Ojalá. Ojalá comes from an old combination of a couple of Arabic words. God willing.
Inshallah.
Yeah, God willing. And if you look up ojalá in a dictionary, it's actually not strictly translatable. Not really strictly translatable. In a dictionary, they'll generally tell you it means something like hopefully, or we wish, which it kind of does. It means you're hoping for something, ojalá. But the wonderful thing about ojalá is that it's always only that one word, ojalá. It can never change into a different form. Ojalá is not a verb. It's just ojalá. And ojalá is sometimes used by itself, and it's sometimes used with ojalá que. Yo prefiero usar ojalá que. Ojalá que. I prefer to use it with que. Other people prefer not to use it with the word que. No importa. It's very loosey-goosey. You can use it as just ojalá or ojalá que. Ojalá que means hopefully something will happen. God willing, this thing will come to pass. So I will add that in our examples for the coming week. I'm going to add on 4 more examples and we'll lead off with those and we'll get back to destinos next week. Perdón. Lo siento mucho. I am so sorry we did not get back into that. ¿Quieren que yo les envíe un artículo? Do you guys want me to send you some kind of an article for reading this coming week? Sí o no?
No, we have the other, well, and we have the other one too.
We have the other one too. See, we've got our art one still, right? Sí? Correcto? Okay. So for next week, we'll have a new reading. I will want you to watch the extra thing about an extra video about subjunctive. I don't want you to try to force upon yourselves all the reasons for using subjunctive. But do remember, he's going to give you a little piece of advice. I'm very sure he's going to use the acronym WEIRDO. And WEIRDO is WEIRDO, WEIRDO, is the little acronym that all Spanish teachers give their students for learning. What are the triggers? So when they say a trigger verb, what they mean by a trigger verb is a verb like this, recomienda, because it's implying something somebody else wants to happen. Espera, because it's a verb that indicates something you want to occur. Insiste en, you can insist till you're blue in the face, but we don't know if that second thing is going to happen. Okay. These are all going to fall. All these verbs that we've used in every one of these examples is going to fall into that acronym of a trigger, meaning a verb in the first half of the sentence that falls into the category of weirdo, wishing and wanting, verbs of emotion, impersonal expressions, recommendations, doubt, and ojalá. And ojalá is the last category. And ojalá is a blanket. Ojalá always uses subjunctive. No questions asked. Ojalá has to use subjunctive. Period. End of story. That's what it has to use, because it's saying, hopefully this happens. I would to God that this happened. And ojalá must use subjunctive, but the wonderful thing with ojalá is you don't need to conjugate anything. It's just ojalá. So no thoughts about what do I do with this word. Just use it. Ojalá. Ojalá. Bien? Okay. I'll give you the new destinos. We'll add a couple things onto this. We'll come back to our little last artículo, and I promise you next week we're going to have a very fun article to read. Y eso es todo. I think that's about it for today. Bien?
Bien.
Bien? Okay. So we want to unravel it. I just finished watching a video earlier today that talked about the reason why so many people, this is from the point of view of a Spaniard, the reason why so many people mess up with subjunctive and find it so difficult is because we as teachers do a poor job of presenting it. Because we say, go memorize all these rules. And it's mind-boggling. It is mind-boggling. I am not even going to show you the weirdo thing yet, because for students I had who had to pass university exams, they had to know all of that stuff. And it took them a process of really 2.5 years to learn how to do it. A young 16, 17-year-old needs 2 full years, and they still find it very funky and very hard, because we have nothing to compare it to in English. So rather than stuffing a lot of reasons, we're going to take things that are very conversational that people use all the time for our examples, so that it starts to feel more natural to give it out in little dribs and drabs. ¿Está bien?
Sí.
Okay.
Sí.
Magnífico. Vamos a practicar muchísimo. Watch for, listen for, don't watch. Well, yeah, watch and listen. Turn on the subtitles with destinos and watch for that. You'll undoubtedly, unfortunately, hear some past subjunctive as well. There is a past subjunctive. So don't let that like mess with your brain very much. Just know that it is there. It has kind of a better translation in English, more like if I were you. Yeah. Or if we put any of these ideas you use today into the past, like my mom wanted us to get home at 11, but we didn't do it. That kind of thing. So instead of my mom wants us to get back before 11, it's my mom wanted us to get back. So there'll be a past with it. You don't need to know it yet. We're just getting used to the reasons for why it happens. It happens because in Spanish, they consider that certain activities are not part of reality. They're not happening yet. And therefore, they have to go into this different form so that we're all aware of, well, this isn't really happening yet. Eso es, okay? Got it? Okay, I'm going to stop the recording for now.